Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe right now to our channel here on YouTube, Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I'd be able to send watches like this to your inbox as soon as tomorrow morning. Get first crack at our watches through these videos because they are for sale on thewatchbox.com, where you can buy this watch. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches on thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a legendary version of a legendary watch. So this is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Cosmograph Daytona 16520 in stainless steel. It is powered by the legendary Rolex caliber 4030, better known as the ZENITH El Primero. So this one is a U serial number, so roughly 1997, and you can see it would have been one of the last of the tritium dials, as 1998 was the beginning of the phase out of tritium on these Rolex watches. So what's important here is that you're getting an all-time design that is ageless, but you're also getting a rare and desirable emerging vintage version of that ageless design. So in 1988 and until 1999, Rolex made its first generation automatic winding Daytona, and that watch was exceptionally scarce by contemporary Rolex standards because it borrowed the ZENITH El Primero caliber, which was built by ZENITH at ZENITH's pace, and thus ZENITH, a small manufacturer that also had to supply other customers and provide its own watches, was only able to provide a handful of Daytona calibers per year, hence more or less mandatory scarcity. 40 millimeters was the case size then, 40 millimeters is the case size now. The watch has hardly changed design-wise since 1988. 12.2 millimeters thick, it does slide nicely under a dress cuff, and from lug to lug you'll find that the watch is a reasonably compact 47 millimeters. The ZENITH powered Daytona with pivoted end links can be worn on a wrist as compact as 13 centimeters in circumference. Now the bracelet that the watch is on is a U serial code 78390 with 503B end links, and you know this because I am now going to show you as much. The bracelet is old school Rolex, hollow center links, pivoted end links. It's got a little bit of that distinctive Rolex rattle that Rolex collectors since time immemorial have associated with pre-2000s Rolex bracelets, but this one doesn't have the stretch that's often endemic to the type, as the tolerances remain quite tight. You'll also note the finish and the fullness of the metal remain much as they were when they left Geneva during the Clinton administration. Polished outer flanks, satin shoulders, polished down the center. You can see the clasp is in excellent condition, and the tolerances remain tight. Individual micro adjustments available. As ever, for this generation of Daytona, solid lugs. There were never strap tool holes on the ZENITH-powered Daytona. Though you'll note, once you get back to the watch itself, vintage-inspired bracelet, and I must say vintage-feeling bracelet, notwithstanding, this could be a modern Rolex Daytona. Of course, the switch from the metal bezel to the ceramic bezel occurred on the steel model in 2016. Nevertheless, this looks, for all intents and purposes, like a 2015 Rolex Daytona. And that's the fun thing. You can own a 21-year-old emerging vintage Daytona that still looks the business today. Don't mess with success, Rolex gets it. You'll also note that not only are the lugs wonderfully even and full, and I'm going to give you a head-on shot of the lugs on both sides, but you will see that the crown guards are also completely full. They've not been deformed. No part of the watch has been deformed or marginalized by refinishing. And you can see that all of the original lacquer in the indices as well as the numerals of the bezel still completely intact. There's been no reduction of lacquer in the wells, which is always a hallmark of a well-kept Daytona from this period. Now let's get a little bit closer, give ourselves a bit more light to examine the dial. And you can see that the pop of the black sub-register chapter rings against the white base makes for a handsome contrast. It's not quite a panda dial, but it's absolutely redolent of 90s Daytona. You'll also note that this one features its original tritium dial with a little bit of tritium fade. This was the last call for the tritium dial in 1997 and 1998. Through the course of the model year, Rolex started phasing out the tritium dials for Luminova. Of course, the indices as well as the handset center are white gold, Rolex crown, white gold, dial base, beautifully unmarred by tarnish, oxidation, or careless watchmaking. This one, inside the sapphire, looks brand new as it did when it left Geneva. Of course, what's underneath the caseback is just as intriguing, as many folks believe these Zenith-powered Daytonas represent a high watermark for the Cosmograph all time. So 31 joules, automatic winding, 52-hour power reserve. It's a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. It is a column wheel lateral clutch chronograph in comparison to the column wheel vertical clutch chronograph of the later Rolex in-house caliber. Rarity, though, is on this one's side and thus considerably more valuable than a 116520. Of course, the Zenith caliber was tuned down by Rolex from 36,000 vibrations per hour to 28,800 so that it would be more durable, but also so conventional lubricants could be used on the escapement, making the watch easier to service. Rolex modifications included revisions to the winding system that made it more durable, reducing the number of springs, and also revisions to the balance structure itself, replacing Zenith's mobile stud index with Rolex's free-sprung index and microstella micrometric adjustment nuts for regulation. It's also a overcoil hairspring rather than the flat hairspring used by Zenith, because Rolex obtained chronometer certificates for these watches. So one of the rare instances you'll find of a Zenith El Primero with a COSC chronometer certificate. Zenith itself only certified a handful. The timepiece, 100 meters water resistant with a screw-down crown and screw-down pushers, is still new enough that Rolex will service it and the watch will still meet its original water resistance ratings as it shipped from the factory. 21 years old, it's emerging vintage, but it can still be worn like a new watch. You'll also find that the column wheel action of the Zenith caliber is louder and crisper than the later Rolex 4130. So the sensation of using your Cosmograph/Zenith is an absolute pleasure. You can see and you can purchase this emerging vintage and still very wearable Rolex Cosmograph Daytona with Zenith El Primero caliber 4030 on our website.